So yesterday we started learning. Yesterday we started learning about specific rooms, and we discussed the Shmira Shel Kavod. Now I was going to begin discussing and going through in the rooms and also entrances, which is very negia. It's like I'm going to give a technish and muscle. There's some very special events that there's a VIP entrance, the red carpet stuff for Chashiva mentioned. Al derech zeh, it's the lot of Avdos, but the Beis Hamikdash, the entrances were very meduyik. It wasn't like everybody came in. So we're going to see, and specifically in this Mishnah, the Shari Harabayis had specific entrances, and they were mechuven. Who's going to come in from which entrance? Let's see. Gimel. I'm going to focus on a little bit more in Mishnah Dalet, but already Mishnah Gimel. Hamisha Sharim Hayu LaHarabayis. Harabayis, which was Betzim, a mountain that they flattened the top, and it was a big courtyard that was square. And right, this is Harabayis, and they put the rectangular Azara positioned in a specific spot. So we're going to talk about the entrances that there were. Chamisha Sha'arim Hayu LaHarabayis. Had Chamisha Sha'arim. Shnei Shari Chuldam in Adarim, from Darim side, which was actually the primary entrance into the Beis Hamikdash. See? All the houses was from Darim side, then over here, Yidden would just come and sit and learn. Not only the Beis Hamikdash, if you went into the Azara, you had to not only tell, you also had to be roy, you had to be coming for a specific Indian, which shar you're going to use. But Tahara Bayis, people came just to see Binyan Hurdus. Hurdus built it, the Chavod, the Tiferes, and people came from the Gans, Eretz Yisrael, and the whole world came to see. So the most space was on Durham side, and Meshamshim Knisa v'Yetzia. Mefarshim discussed whether when it says Meshamshim Knisa v'Yetzia, that means that one door was for Knisa and one was for Yetzia, or Meshamshim Knisa v'Yetzia was because it was the primary entrance where people were. That's why it's called Meshamshim Knisa v'Yetzia, as opposed to the other ones that were more rarely used, as we're going to see. Hipoinus mina Mayrav, the Mayrav side, which is behind the Kodesh HaKadoshim, even though you see that from Mayrav side there were also houses, but the Chavana, they stationed the whole Azara in a way where there's very little space to go through behind the Kodesh HaKadoshim, because it's scary if you think about it. They're very, very, the closest you get to the Helix de Platz, and they didn't want people to drezich, and therefore they first of all moved the whole Azara all the way close to the back, and that door, even though there were houses, the door was not generally used. Like he says, Masham Shekhnesi was the Darim Zait. And even more than that, another simon to the fact that they made sure that it wasn't stam used was Kipoinos. The name Kipoinos means in Greek a flower garden. And Yesh Gerson, that there were even flowers there. Why would they put flowers? Because when there's a flower garden, you go exactly on the path. You don't drezich, you don't sit down. Masha'inkin in Durham side, people before sat down. The Gemara discusses if there's me'ila l'tzel, a person, if they came to learn Torah, okay, there's one day that why is Shari Chulda called Shari Chulda? Because Chulda Navi would sit there. And Yidden would come to ask their questions. And they would sit also later to learn Torah. And therefore the Gemara discusses that if imagine you're sitting over here learning Torah, and there's the sun is shining down, and there's the shade, you're sitting in the shade of the Heichel. Imagine you're sitting in the shade of the Heichel. Is that called Me'ila? Is it called that you're using the Chaymer of the Beis HaMikdash for your private benefit? Gemara says, no, there's no Me'ila L'tzel. But the punchline is that Chulda was the main, the Durham side was the main part of the use, and the Ma'ariv, they made sure it wasn't. That's why they put flowers, and that's why they made it the smallest passageway. So that's Tadi Minat Safoin. Tadi, Shar Tadi, the Mefarshim say that Tadi is a lashon of two stones that lay on each other, and that was a simon for its privacy, I guess, like a symbolic simon of privacy. For some reason, over here they describe the whole door as a three, as a triangle. B'cholfen, here he's going to say loy hoya mishamish klum, as he says, and later on we'll see that it was mishamish something, but something that what we didn't want to specify. It was if a kohen became tummy in the middle of the night, he should have a way to sneak out without without making headlines. Rabbi Abraham, the plans must have given them big to blame. Yes, guys, oh, there's a milk soon. Okay. Tell me not often. Loya mishamish klum. Shara Mizrachi, all of Shushan Habira Tzura. On the Shar Mizrach, which was actually should have been the primary entrance because it's right across, right? Shar Mizrach in Ingeret, you see the whole base of Mikdash and its beauty and its glory. You're coming in. But Afal Pikein, like we said, Ruba Min Adorim, and Shar Mizrach was known for the Shar Shushan, which means the gate of roses, because this direction is the direction of Iraq. Basically, facing Iraq, which was then Persia Paras, and they were the ones that approved the building of the second base of Mikdash Kodesh Melech Paras, and therefore when he let them go up, he requested they should put a statue of him in the Beis Hamikdash. That was very common in those days, and there was no plan to put a statue in the Beis Hamikdash. As we all know, that in the Beis Hamikdash, you're not even allowed to have eights. Not allowed to have Asherah Etzem Mizbach Hashem Alekecha, even though obviously it wouldn't be Asherah, but it would be similar, resemble something going on by Avodah Zarah. That the Asherah built tree by all Avodah Zarah, so the use of this Asherah was a big palm tree or a big tree that would go very high, and people would notice that this is a place to worship. So don't even put any trees, and we'll see in the structure itself of the Beis Hamikdash there was not allowed to be any wood, besides a few specific places because they were needed. But that's not in the structure. It's an Isser. So Kolshkin, they weren't planning to put a statue, so they told them what they're going to do is in the direction of Paras, they're going to make a big tablet, a big plaque that had the tzura of Shushan Habira, and we'll always remember to remain loyal to the kingdom that let us come up and build the base of Mikdash. All Shushan Habira tzura shaboy, and in addition, this entrance was used specifically, as we mentioned at the beginning. Every entrance was used by specific things for specific people. Part of the covet of the base of Mikdash, that each one, you're not stam there. These people came through this entrance, and that guided their thoughts, what they're here for. So, boy, koyin gadol haseir v'zaparo uparo v'chol mesada yetzim laharamishcha. From here, the koyin gadol and all the koyinim escorting him would go to burn the paraduma. And if you look closely, you'll see there's kippin on this bridge, because there were very special chumras, like outlandish, that the kohenim were instituted for the paradumas burning and the process, because that symbolized the highest level of tara. This was metayr from tumas meis. Most all other tumas and tara didn't even need this. It's the mikveh. So they actually had children that never became tamei, little koyanim, and they educated them in specific houses and made sure they never became tamei. So some of these chumras, one of them was they crossed on a bridge that was made kippin with these little loops that was mafsed from arches that separate and don't let the tumah go up. So this entrance was famous. He would go to Haram Mishcha. Haram Mishcha, just to point out, Haram Mishcha is Harazeisim. Mishcha is Yimashach B'Shemen. So it's the same thing. He went to Harazeisim, and that's why Harazeisim, Agav, that's why the famous Beis HaKvaros Harazeisim, because people wanted to be buried in a place where they could get up and right away see the Beis HaMikdash, take it from Yad and go in that direction. Okay. And now we get to the Shiva Sha'arei HaZara, which, as we started mentioning, every entrance had a very specific usage and symbolized. Shiva she'arim hayu bazar. There were 7 entrances to the Azara. Shloisha b'tzafon v'shloisha b'daram. 3 on the south side, 3 on the northern side, and echad b'mizrach, and 1 on the eastern side. And we're going to talk about these entrances. Okay. So, shloisha is shebedarim. In the daram side, there was shar hadelek. Delek is meloshin hadlik, bleka, fire. And what they would bring through the shar hadelek, okay, they would bring the wood that they would put on the maracha, on the mizbeach, they would bring through this entrance. And this again, you're going to hear it from me many times because I think it's critical to notice this when you're discussing the Beis Hamikdash and the structure of the Beis Hamikdash, that one of the things that talks to us all, and the reason Bechlal we're learning this is because any place that was designated for something, that will exist in the Bayis Shlishi as well, just maybe different dimensions. The whole Eretz Yisrael is going to stretch, but if the Beis Hamikdash dedicated a room, it was very primistic. Everybody that came was just for that, and someone that came had to come in with that, let's say, almost even like with a kabbana, just come in drezer. So just to be madgish how unique that was, there is lishkas ha'etzim. Okay, the kohen and bali moment, they checked wood, they wouldn't just carry it through, right, and just bring it to the mizbeah. No, they would have to go out and kopni yasecha yuli yamin. They would make a right and go all around and come in through Shar Hadelek. Okay, they just show because it had to be brought through this shar. And as we'll see, maybe I'll discuss a little bit more yesterday. An entrance that's on Durham's side symbolizes a lesser level of kedusha, because anything that was on the Tzafon side was Tzafoino Lifnei Hashem, was much more special because it was across the open door of the Heichel. The Durham side, this side, the entrance was blocked by the Mizbeach. So on Durham, I think I mentioned this also yesterday. They had a special entrance, Shara Pcheiros, which were for Kachim Kalim, for any carbon that's able to be shechted anywhere. For a Chamer carbon. So each behema even had its status. So a person wouldn't fall through the pitfall and the trap that, you're bringing this carbon, that carbon, it's all behemoth. No. When a person is makdish something on Hashem, they have different levels, and you can't switch. And if the Kohen Gadol thinks for the wrong thing, it's pigul. So they brought it through Shara Carbon. Shara Carbon was for Kachim Kodashim, which is Tzafon Zait, and Shara Pcheiros was for Kachim Kalim. So Sheni Loy Shara Pcheiros, the second one going down in the second entrance, Shara Pcheiros. Shlishi Loy Shara Mayim. There's a few opinions why this was called. There's actually 3 opinions why this was called Shara Mayim. One is Sharamayim, because of the nevuah of Yecheskel, that Be'ezus Hashem Lasid Lavid is going to be mayim coming out of the Kodesh HaKodashim, a stream of water, and that's going to go out. It says, the Mishnah himself says it in Mishnayos Tamid. Another reason for Sharamayim is because they brought through this door sometimes base of shade of water. It went to draw water from Nahal Kidron. Sorry, and they brought it through this door. So imagine, there's a door. They knew this entrance was dedicated for this. And then the third hasber is, and this is an interesting nekuda, on top of Sharamayim there was a mikveh. We know the Gagos Lo Niskachu, the roofs of the base, not only the Beis Hamikdash. Interestingly enough, this is a din that we should all know, because soon is going to be the Beis Hamikdash taken from the Yad. Karbanis that are meant to be eaten in Yerushalayim have to be eaten on ground level. Gagas Leinis Kachu is not only for the Beis Hamikdash, for the whole Yerushalayim. You have to be standing on ground level. You're not allowed to eat on, not every carbon Pesach, they were not, carbon Pesach, you're not even allowed to take Chutz L'Chabura. You're not allowed to take it out of the group, the room where you're eating. And if you do, you have to be facing them.
Second floor is no good.
Second floor is no good. That's why the Mishnayos in Psachim describes how after they finished the carbon Pesach, they went on the roof and they would dance. They would see each other, but before then, they had to stay on the ground level. So Gagas Lo Niskachu. So to symbolize, everything was very aristocratic. Was very pre-planned, and there was mannerism of where and which door and which what's the etiquette, and therefore the Kohen Gadol, the first Tevila on Yom Kippur, to symbolize that it's the first tefillah, and he's not yet as kadosh as he could be, so to speak, or not yatar. The first tefillah was on a roof, so it's not yet in kodesh. So that's the third reason why this is called Shara Mayim, because there was a mikveh on top of this entrance. Some hold that the mikveh was on top of a different entrance, so this is the example. Okay, these are the three sha'arim on the Daram side. Said Shara Delik, Shara Pchiris, and Shara Mayim. Then there is the famous Shara Nicanor. We all know the story. Okay, Shara Nicanor was the Nicanor that decided to donate everything he had, all his assets. He was from Alexandria, and he bought these huge copper doors, and one of them had to go overboard. The famous story. It's also brought in Mishnayos Tamid. And besides the nest, because of the nest that happened, that he had to throw off one door, and then after he was going, the storm stopped, and then he realized it was floating after the boat, and it came after him to Akko, to Eretz Yisrael. And because of that, it says that all the other entrances, Nishtan Aliyah Shel Zav, if Yidden had enough cash flow, they would upgrade the part of the destination and turn it to gold. Besides this door, to remember the Ness. Another opinion is because Nechashta Matzib, it was a special copper. Near the Shar Nicanor, Shtei L'Shachas Oyelor, Achas Liyiminoi v'Achas L'Smoiloi, Achas Lishkas Pinchas HaMalbish v'Achas Lishkas Oisech HaBitim. Now I want to take you back a little bit to the time of Bayis Sheni. Yidden were well adept and very enjoyed the lifestyle of their Golos. Went to Golos Bavel, and whatever the whole story of Purim, they were well rooted. And then came Ezra and Nehemiah and said, it's time to go back to the Beis HaMikdash. Yidden were not looking to go there. You know that Eretz Yisrael is called Eretz HaTzvi. That in time that there's Yidden in Eretz Yisrael prospers. When they're not there, the land doesn't produce what it's supposed to produce, and therefore Yidden weren't looking to go back. And many Yidden didn't stay. They say that Ezra gave a klala to people that lived in Yemen because they didn't want to go back officially. And many Yidden didn't want to go back. It was wasteland and it wasn't prosperous, and then that area there was the center of the world. And therefore, we'll find in the Beis HaMikdash quite a few positions that, as a zeicher and as a covet for the first person that did come back, they gave it the name. So similarly, lahavdol, as a Pare, the first, the second, or any king, al derech zeh, they gave certain names in the Beis HaMikdash to positions. Al Shem, the first one. So Lishkas Pinchas HaMalbish was one of them. Pinchas was the first person that came up, and it was dedicated. You're talking about people that left their houses and left their businesses and came up. It wasn't fluid, and therefore always the person that his job was to be malbish the kohen. And just to put things in perspective, it was a real job to be malbish the kohen. Not only he had to check and put things away because it has to be l'chavdol tiferes. If it's not scrunched or whatever it is, it's rubbed out. It's puzzle. Also to dress them. The Lamed Beis Amma, the gartel the kohen wore, he had to go around them. I mean, it's no joke. I mean, it's not also to roll it up afterwards, and he had to keep for each kohen and for the base of and different sizes. Big project and big responsibility. Because if you don't give
him with them, Istanbul.
He
had a team. He wasn't by himself.
Sure, yeah, he was overseeing this. So that's Lishkas Pinchas HaMalbish. This is the small. This is one small lishka that was on the side of Shar Nicanor, was Pinchas HaMalbish. The opposite side was called Lishkas Oisech HaVitim. And here you have another example of a room that was dedicated to a chashuv carbon, even though the carbon was a daily carbon that the Kohen Gadol brought, called Minchas HaVitim, Machtzisa B'Boker, Machtzisa B'Erev. But it was just one carbon. And they actually, in the Beis HaMikdash, to give the cover the roy to the Kohen Gadol, which was above all the Kohen that served in the name of Bnei Yisrael. Not only they gave a special room, we're soon gonna, in Mishnayos Tamid, he describes that the first avodah they did in the morning in the Beis HaMikdash is they would go around and check that everything is intact, even though what could be not intact. Okay, it was a covet. They went to check, so before they opened the doors officially, we're gonna see soon Pish Katan Hayalei. to get out of the dormitory of the Kohanim, which was the Beis HaMoikid, they didn't open the doors, because opening the doors would symbolize the beginning of the Avodah. They had a small door that they would first go in from and go live Leishas Azara. So when they went to check the Azara, I'm just going to this out. The way they went was like this. They split into two groups. One went around from here, and one went from here. That means they didn't split it equally. They didn't start going around and meet over here. They met by the Kohen Gadol's office. Not office. His office was actually over here. His office in the 7 days that he had to be in the base of English, but where the Kohen Gadol brings his chavitim. We don't look at this like this. We need to adapt to the Hadas Kavit, to these specific rooms. And again, like we mentioned, Safenzeit. So imagine coming into 770. Okay, so let's take 770 as an example. There's two doors. Coming into the door that's closer and facing the place where the Rebbe davens is more chashiv. You need to think more. That's a shtickle example. I'm saying it's closer to the open door. And let's just finish this Mishnah. So Achas Lishkas Pinchas Amalbish, which we discussed, he would dress the Kohen, and Achas Lishkas Oisech Habitin, which was dedicated to the Kohen Gadol's carbon, and we'll continue.
Go ahead.